Hey everybody, what's going on? It's your homeboy Eric Short hanging out in his man room as usual, with the B and I'm sorry, let me correct myself, with the E and L show. What's going on, Les?
Yo, I'm here, brother. Looking
Here
forward
we
to a good
go.
conversation. Yes, sir.
Okay. So without further ado, I just want to mention we have a very, very special guest here today. From my vantage point, he and I were doing the Julius Irvin, Donnell Hillman hair back in the day because we had those big fros going. But as you can see now, we're both bald. My homeboy Darryl Robinson, how you doing, bro?
I am blessed, man. I am doing well. And I was gonna touch on that the Afro subject myself, man, because I remember, how I thought I was fly. I look at some of those pictures now, man. I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, you had a big one too, man.
Yeah, man, it's that Donnell Hillman look.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, man. So tell everybody about yourself, Darryl, so the viewers will know.
I grew up in to my first recollection, grew up in East New York. I was there from what I can remember through third grade. Uh, when I was in third grade, 8, 9 years old, we moved to Brownsville. Went to 182 in East New York and moved to 183 in Brownsville. And that's where I was until I graduated from high school. Um, Brownsville was I don't know how familiar you guys are with Brownsville, but Brownsville was actually a step up from where we were in East New York. Actually grew up right across the street from a synagogue. So there were still some white people in Brownsville when I got there. Of course, as time moved on, it became the Brownsville we know now. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Grew up loving baseball and probably kept a glove, a ball, and a bat in my hand through junior high school. I went to Somers Junior High School, PS 252. And from there, and as you know, Eric, and probably less, junior high school was 7 through 9.
Mhm.
So actually, my first year in high school was my last year in junior high, as far as my transcript was concerned.
Right.
So, so that was beneficial for me big time, because my ninth grade year, I did really well academically, and at the place I was used to before we went to South Shore High School.
Mhm.
South Shore was probably 3 years old, 3 years old, maybe two. I think I was in the third graduating class at South Shore.
Okay.
But junior high school, I got cut from the team my seventh and my eighth grade year. I made it my ninth grade year, and we were pretty good. Had a guy you might know named Tyrone Latson, who was
Oh
an
yeah.
eighth grader my ninth grade year, and we won the conference. Unfortunately, we had someone on the team that was too old. So I think we went 9-1 in the conference, and found out a couple of weeks later that our conference title was null and void. But we were pretty good, and that's when I started really falling in love with basketball.
Mhm.
My next grade year, went to South Shore, which was I don't know. I want to say maybe 8 miles away from home, maybe 10. Um, and this you probably can relate. You both probably can relate to. They didn't want us in South Shore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was in a well-to-do area. A lot of Italians. I mean, it was pretty affluent. Um, you couldn't go in the bathroom. Um, if you went into the bathroom by yourself, there's no telling what might happen if there were, a couple of 2 or 3 white guys in there. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing for them. Now, if they went in the bathroom, there's 2 or 3 brothers in there. So it was really, really volatile atmosphere, environment. Um, but I played JV my 10th grade year, and we won the conference. A couple of guys that played with me, you guys, I think you might remember Steve Daniels. Who turned out to be really, really, I thought was the best player we had, even when we went to varsity. Derek Hunt. Larry McCartan played varsity his sophomore year, so he didn't play with us. Junior, now we had a lot of talent, but South Shore had never won before. So my first year of varsity, which was my junior year, I probably played maybe 5-6 minutes a game on average. Steve played a little bit more. Larry actually started. But we had a lot of talent, guys that had never won before. I think we ended up 13-13 with lots of talent. But guys just had other interests. I'll just leave it at that. In my senior year, we were really good. I think we finished 20-2. We lost to Lafayette in the Brooklyn finals. A team we beat by 30 in a scrimmage game. I think the lights were kind of bright for us, but I also thought we underestimated them. And they were good too. Actually, they went on to play Taft, I believe, in the city finals.
And lost. And
Taft beat them. So, but my high school career prepared me for so much, man. I mean, just being in another environment, being around a predominantly white school. When I graduated, and we had to go to class. I got some friends that went to school in Brooklyn that class was an option. School work was an option. We had to go to class, which was so beneficial in the long run for us. But yeah, we were good, and I thought South Shore prepared me for Appalachian State, which is a predominantly white school. Had a nice time there. Started 4 years. Played for a guy named Bobby Crimmins, who Bobby is my guy. I mean, we still talk. Actually, I'm going to see him Saturday. But I started 4 years there. Made the all freshman team. Made all conference 3 of the 4 years. We won the regular season my junior year, lost in the semifinals of the tournament, and we won them both my senior year. Yeah. So from there, I don't know if you want me to keep going. From there, I got drafted.
Keep going, bro. Keep going, man. It's a history.
I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, me too. For real.
Yeah. From there, I got drafted by Portland in the 4th round. And you say that now I have mentioned it to a couple of kids that play college basketball. Like last year, I was in the Final Four. One of the kids that played for my son and I is on the Carolina team now. But I told him 4th round, and he looked at me with a smirk, and I'm like, well, there weren't that many teams then, so I think I was like the 76th pick in the draft. So which makes it different. You say 4th round, people might frown on it or whatever, but there weren't that many teams then. So probably still wouldn't get drafted today, but it would be, right after the 2nd round was over. Had a pretty good camp there. Rookie camp was good. Maybe we had, maybe 25 guys there. 12 got invited to play in the LA Summer League, which was right there at the Forum, which was a great experience. Played against Magic, played against Michael Cooper, Alvin Mack, who was a good friend of mine.
Brian.
You might know Oliver.
Yeah, Brian. Brian High School.
So we reconnected there, along with some other people. But that was a great experience. I probably came off the bench. I probably averaged about 12, 13. I thought I had a pretty good camp. And I was one of probably the last guard cut before veterans camp. So from there, came back home, finished my degree. I was a couple of credits short. Came back, finished my degree, and got invited to go to Spain on a tour and played really well in Spain. thought I played well enough to get a job, but I didn't get a job immediately. Came home and continued to just work out, and got invited to the New Jersey Nets camp. And then while I was at the New Jersey Nets camp, a contract came from Israel for me. So of course I wanted to play in the NBA. But the Nets had 17 guards at camp.
Wow. Wow.
And so that kind of soured me a little bit. So, I kind of went through, I won't say I went through the motions, but, I kind of saw the handwriting on the wall. And I signed the contract while I was with the Nets, with the team in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And I had friends, and you guys probably can relate to this, that tried out for the NBA the next 2, 3, 4 years. And I'm just thinking, those guys are just using us to play against their draft picks. So, even when I went to Israel, I led the league in scoring my first 2 years there. Played over there 5 years. But I led the league in scoring my first 2 years there. Even some NBA teams tried to contact me. And I was like, I think I'm good. So, I kind of gave up on that NBA dream.
Were you playing with Willie Sims out there in Israel?
I played against Willie. I was there 2 years before Willie got there, and Willie and I were really close, man.
Yeah, Willie's my year was 77. So
okay, yeah,
man, he rest in peace, man.
Well, that's my guy, man. That was a punch in the stomach.
Yeah, man.
I talked to his wife a couple of times, maybe 3 times since he's passed away. But Willie was a lovable, humble. I mean, that was a good dude.
Yeah.
And you're talking about somebody that stayed in shape. I mean, he was teaching aerobic classes, Tai Chi classes. So for him to, I've heard different stories. I don't know what you heard. Some heart issues, he had a stroke. But for him to even come close to some heart issues is unbelievable because that brother stayed in shape.
Yeah, I know. He was that guy, man. And with that country accent still to this. And I talked to his wife. I talked to his wife myself, man. You know.
Yeah.
And just via text and stuff. And
right.
Yeah, he was a good man. But on that note as well, I want to take a moment, if I apologize, Darryl, but we had a very, very close friend of ours, Donald McAllister, passed away this weekend. Ex-FDR high school player, Hartwick College, and he was Les's teammate at Hartwick. So I don't know if you want to say something, Les, regarding that tragedy that just occurred.
Yeah, just condolences, man, to a fellow Brooklynite. Now, I don't believe I knew Donald, and perhaps I might have known him if I'd seen him. We didn't play FDR. Of course, I knew Vinny. But yeah, we didn't play FDR, so I didn't know the brother. But condolences, man, condolences.
Yeah, I think he played with Vinny like 2 years.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So I probably have seen him.
Definitely.
After we lost to Lafayette, I went and watched FDR and Taft play. And I remember Taft playing a boxing 1 on Vinny and frustrating them and just beating them up. So I probably did watch him play.
Yeah.
And my brother passed away. Actually went to his memorial service up in Queens 2 weekends ago. So and I've been to 8 funerals I know in the last 4 or 5 months, man.
Wow.
Sorry to hear that, brother. My condolences.
Yeah. I appreciate you. Yeah.
I appreciate it. And it like this, it seems like it's happening so often on us all that, fellow family members or, warriors that we played with or against are dropping. It seems like they're dropping like flies. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'm having the wrong impression of that, but I just wanted to mention Don because like we played together. We won the Rucker High School championship, me, him, and Les playing for George Murden. And, plus Les played with him at Hartwick.
Yeah.
And we played in numerous tournaments together like that. Our contingent of, friends, we all played together, Jeff Thomas and Ricky Jarvis, Ernest Myrick, all of those guys. And so, may you rest in peace, Don. Um, we're definitely gonna miss you, man. And it's a guy I'm very impressed with, man. A guy lift up my washing machine, man, and walk down the street with it. I don't know
By
anybody
himself.
that does that. So
By himself.
yeah, by himself, man. And so yeah, he's gonna be sorely missed, man. And just wanted to mention that. But being that you mentioned about the fact that playing and seeing the writing on the wall and just accepting, going and playing in Israel, Darryl, like, can you speak to how you feel about the transition of stopping playing? And the reason why I bring that up is because they're talking about, Brady and him retiring today and announcing that. And some people are speaking about the effort that you put through in your career to work hard daily, to be fresh and ready and have that fire constantly throughout your career. And then for you to turn it off and have something to turn to afterwards. Speak to what it was like for you to transition from a player to not playing and what you might have thought were maybe obstacles or things that you weren't prepared for, if all of that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And perhaps I'm an aberration. When my son was born, now I was overseas. I was in Israel for 5 years. My son was born after my 3rd year. And I don't know, man, I just kind of felt like it was time. Now, did I still come home and ball out? Yes, probably, 7 days a week. But during my 3rd year, I came home. Of course, I was not home when my son was born. I got here the next day. But I just kind of felt like the handwriting was on the wall. I went back and had a great year again. But when I went back that last year, it wasn't written in stone that I was done. But somewhere during that season, I kind of felt like it was time. It wasn't like I was over there making boatloads of money. And I always kind of felt like, well, it's time for me to go home and go to another chapter. And that other chapter was coaching. So I came home and went, worked a couple of jobs, I ran a couple of restaurants, and my degree was in education, physical education. But after working a couple of jobs and busting my butt, making decent money, a high school job, actually a middle school job opened up. And I did that for about 3 weeks. And then a high school job opened up. And middle school wasn't me. Kind of felt like, those kids were just too busy. So I got a job at a high school now. I wasn't coaching immediately. But, just being around high school kids. And I was like, something I think I could do, especially after working 60 hours a week. I was like, man, I think I could do this, like weekends, holidays, off, that's so. Then I embarked on a private school job, worked there for 3 years, and I got offered a college job at Coastal Carolina. I don't know if you're familiar with Coastal.
Yeah.
Myrtle Beach. So I took that job. Now I took a cut in salary to take that. So I was making less money at Coastal, but I was like, this is a college job, something that I think, could work out. I was there 1 year. We made the NCAA tournament. We played against the Fab Five in the first round.
Wow.
But and the coach and I, we're friends to this day, but there were some things that transpired that bothered me. And a new high school in Raleigh opened up, Leesville Road High School. And people reached out, and asked me if I'd be interested. So I went and checked it out and hit it off with the principal immediately. The AD, not so much immediately, but he grew to probably be one of my best friends before he passed away. But I was there for 18 years. And coached the McDonald's All-American, got to coach my son. We won 4 games our first year, playing with freshmen, sophomore, and juniors. Didn't have any seniors. We won the conference our 3rd year when those freshmen grew up, and we probably had the best program, if not the best, one of the best programs in the state for 18 years. Well, for 15 years. And the highlight of that to me was coaching my son, who ended up playing at Clemson. And I had a kid to go to Florida State. Probably if I coached, if I had 70 seniors, now it's a pretty affluent area too. If I had 70 seniors, 68 of them went to college. If not for basketball, for academics.
Right.
So probably the best job I've ever had in my life. So, and even then, there came a time when coaching, I had to turn the page on that too. Now, as far as being a head coach, because I'm still helping my son. He's coaching at Panther Creek High School here in Cary, North Carolina. Excuse me. But there came a time when I was like, something, between the parents and just a different kid. There came a time where I had to turn the page on that. So I say all that to say, I don't think in my life, my 65 years, I've had a problem turning the page. I get that little voice when it's time to leave. It's time to leave the room. It's time to leave.
Well, but during that, and the transition physically and mentally can be pretty smooth because you make a decision. But were there any pitfalls along the way or during that you weren't expecting to say, I'm something I'm missing, like I'm missing that competitive, fire. I wish I could play still. Cause I still do that now. It's like, I wish I could get on the court and just shoot jumpers, stand still. So I know that there is a level of wanting to still compete and still have that in there. And it might not be of a high level, but how did you manage it is really the question. How did you manage the fire that was going out as well as the wanting to still be competitive?
I guess I'll go to the last time, my last job. There were, I hate to say, parents kind of made me want to leave. I've been around basketball all my life, man. And of course, as a coach, you're gonna make mistakes. But if you make the right decision 7 out of 10 times, you're doing pretty good. And I'm not saying, that I knew it all, blah, blah, blah. But playing basketball, being around basketball pretty much all my life, I kind of thought I knew what I was doing, but parents just got off the charts to me.
Evidently, a couple of those parents didn't think you knew what you were doing.
Oh, no question. And it's kind of like, my son went to Dean Smith's camp, and Dean Smith loved him, and look at this certificate. Dean Smith, he got 3 or 4 certificates from Dean Smith, and I'm like, well, I want to say, you can't say, yeah, but you paid about $800 for those 3-4 pieces of paper. Everybody wants you to contact Duke and Carolina and State for, you need to contact Coach Sendek or Coach Krzyzewski, because my kid can play, and you're not even giving them minutes with you. And I just got tired of that. And of course, coaching your son, you don't care about anybody but your son, that type of stuff. So it just got to the point where, something, I'm good. I had a great, in my opinion, and I'm not talking about in numbers, I'm talking about influence. I'm not talking about I'm talking about kids getting scholarships, academic scholarships, getting invited to walk-ons. I got to meet, coaching on the college level a couple of times, I got to meet a lot of college coaches. So even to this day, I can call somebody and say, man, you really need to come look at this kid. But that it just beat me. I won't say beat me down, but it's just like, something. And my son's coming along, and he played overseas 3 years, and now he's coaching. you know, I'll just be his assistant. And, you know, I might not make all the practices. If he needs me to go scout somebody, I'll do that, but I'll be at all the games.
Mm.
And that helps me with that competitive drive, you know,
Right.
and to motivate kids and to tell kids the truth, you know. And I tell them all the time, if you ask me now, I'm gonna tell you the truth. One thing you're not gonna say is 5 years down the road that bald-headed man lied to me. I'm gonna tell you the truth. So
Yeah, that's important.
if you
You're
want,
right. You're right, because I mean, it's, and a lot of people can't handle that, but believe it or not, that's what that's what individuals need to hear, no matter what situation. I don't need
yeah,
for you to lie to me. Just tell
yeah,
me the truth. I keep
yeah,
going,
yeah,
that's like sitting there, doctor talking to you. You don't want the doctor to lie to you. Whoa, Eric, you don't have any heart issues. Meanwhile, my heart's stopping. Like, this is
right.
wrong.
Yeah.
And but the expectation of the parent in our day and age is that the expectations that they expect you to see, unless you can speak to this too, because from training players, the parents expect you to see what they see in their children.
Or what they want to see in their children.
Right. And
Yeah.
but understand this though, D, is that it's not so much that they want it, because it's not whether they want to or not, just the indication of being a parent and how you conduct yourself like that. Just some people automatically think their kid is the best thing since pancakes, and I respect that, but not when it comes to tasks of things that they're learning, like a sport, musician, or whatever the case may be. You're not going to go into the orchestra and play at a concert the piano if you still can't, read music, because you can't read the music we're playing. And the parent might say, well, my son can play chopsticks. Like, so what? He can't read this music. He's not ready yet. And that infuriates them for some reason, and I don't know if like the experiences you've had less with, people like that, but
my whole thing is, like, if you don't want to know the truth, don't even ask me.
Thank you.
Don't ask me. If you don't
Right.
if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask me.
Right.
So,
and that's funny. You tell people the truth, and and it's almost like it irritates them. And I'm like, well, you asked me.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And you can't be the expert for which someone comes and asks you a question, and then you give an answer and you don't respect the answer. It's like, why did you ask me if you don't want to believe what I'm telling you?
There's a lot of that.
And yeah, because I had a girl player that, her daughter was probably the best player on the team, and high school here. And her mother was constantly sitting behind the bench. My daughter's going to play at Duke. My daughter's going to play at Duke. My daughter's going to play at Duke. You know what? Her daughter never even played college basketball, let alone playing at Duke. But it was an interference, because you're sitting with parents, they're hearing you as well. And that opinion is pitting your opinion of other players and why they're possibly in the game or playing and doing things, and give my daughter the ball. So, but people are hearing that. So he says somebody is like trying to destroy the foundation of what the coach is trying to build or what the school is built for the sake of their child.
That's undermining. It's like undermining you. Yeah.
He's a saboteur. Basically.
Yeah. And see, with me, and I use my son, I always kept the expectation low. Now, I'm not saying I knew he could play, but when UNC Wilmington and Richmond and these schools were contacting me, I was okay with that. And I remember Jeff Battle. I don't know if you know Jeff, coached at Wake Forest. He's at Providence now. He was an assistant to Skip Prosser. And Jeff called.
I know Skip.
Yeah, Jeff called, and along with some other friends, and was like, man, why you ain't tell me about your son? And I'm like, well, I don't know if he could play at that level. So I'll never forget now, we went to the Peach Jam, and Jeff Battles, and I'm coaching, this is travel ball, and I'm coaching, and Jeff Battle meets me after the game and he says, Darryl, maybe you have to bleep this. He said, Darryl, you're full of shit, man. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, you didn't think you could play on this level? Now you're full of shit. You bullshitted me. And I'm like, well, hey man, you asked me, I told you. But so I always kept the expectation low. And I tried to, with kids that I coached, I always I tried to do that. I'm like, you talking about Duke, man. You might want to look at UNC Greensboro. There's nothing wrong with it. You need to go where they love you, not so much where you love.
Mhm.
So I just one that I always try to
Right.
keep that education low.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question though, because I played overseas too for a little bit. I played in France. So how was that whole transition for you from coming from Brownsville to Israel?
All right, now check this out. No, you can't leave out Boone, North Carolina. So Brownsville,
That's
Okay.
right, man. Don't
Boone.
forget
That's
about Boone.
okay.
which was a hell of an experience, man. I'm not just talking about culture. I mean, just culture wise, the cold we dealt with in Brooklyn. But I would say the first preseason at Appalachian was a tough endeavor. Now, luckily, I've been married for 41 years. And I met my wife probably 3 weeks into the school year. So, she helped me through that transition. And ended up, even when I was playing overseas, I had a summer home in Boone. So now I was going back there. But to get to your question, the preseason in Israel, and you probably know this, both of you guys, they'll bring you over there. I was brought over there at the end of August. No, the end of July. And the season didn't start till September.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're seeing if you fit, can you play, blah, blah, blah. Because I saw a lot of brothers probably like you come and go. They might be in there for a week and they'd be like, nah, he don't fit.
Yeah, they break out.
He's not what we're looking for. So you go over there with a contract, and that contract ain't worth the paper it's written on. So I was there
absolutely
late July through the season. Now the preseason, the first preseason, I thought, like, shoot, I'm not staying here. I'm getting out of here. And Bobby Crimmins, encouraged me to hang in there. And, I'm so glad I did, because once the season started, I mean, it was game on. I got a lot of Aussie Perry, who's a legend. He was the first Black player over there. He got there probably in the late 60s. Earl Williams, who played at Winston-Salem State. Those guys played for Maccabi Tel Aviv, which is one of the best European organizations. Willie Sims played for them. But in Tel Aviv, there were about 5 or 6 teams. And the brothers from them teams, but we just held each other up. We battled on the court, but we hung out off the court. So like the transition was rough, but once the season started, I loved it over there.
Yeah, that's nice, man. That's cool. And it's funny because, like you said, there's so many people that make a transition to play overseas, and they get there, and it's not so much like you said before. It's not so much where a place that you love as much as of a place that loves you. And when you go there, you have to see how they embrace you and try to fit in. That's why, as a professional, I think that's your responsibility, is to find a place to fit in to your job, and get her done, as best you can, and but a lot of people jump ship because they can't handle it,
And a lot of brothers came over there, just like anywhere else in Europe, and couldn't take it. They didn't want to fit in. Either they got real homesick, or they just didn't fit what the organization was looking for.
And not being prepared for it.
Right. And you got to learn how to be a professional.
Right.
You got to learn how to be a professional. Just like, you hear the NBA guys talk about being professional. Over there, you got to be professional. Brothers go there and get in trouble, at the clubs and doing stuff like that. I mean, the organization is not going to put up with that.
Yeah, and plus the laws are not American laws.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and if you don't understand that, man, you've never left this country, even on a vacation, man. It's like you can't go, to Cancun and act like you're walking around on Fulton and Franklin. It don't work that way.
Right.
And that's sad, but to have like the maturity enough to be able to get through it, that's kind of like what's expected of you, right? You're expected to be mature and, like you said, to be a professional And when you get into those realms of playing with guys from other countries as well, they're dealing with that same issue.
Yeah.
You know, you might be playing with a guy from Sweden. He's not from Israel, so he's dealing with the same thing, you know. But you know what it is? It's kind of like you make it work, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah, you
And
make it
you
work.
it's want to. It's want to.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, I think the reason why I was successful over there also was because I tried to get into the culture. You know, I started learning to speak French. You know, I was into the food. I wasn't like, hey man, I need some McDonald's. You know, where's the McDonald's? Where's you know, I wasn't gonna be that crazy American. I
Right.
was into the culture. I was eating new foods. I was trying to learn the language. You know, so I think that was a big reason why I even got a lot of other offers to play in other teams because they said, "Oh, this is one of those good Americans."
And,
You know,
and you know, good
get me,
locker room dude.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Back in those
Yeah.
days,
One of the good ones.
huh?
I said one of the good ones. But you sound like you were a good for the locker room, which is important too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it helped a little for for Les to be like we was in the same French class, man, in junior high school. So
That's right. That's right.
now because we went to junior high school together.
You say that?
Huh?
I took Spanish. You know, I was good at Spanish. You know, I had a whole lot of Puerto Rican friends, but you know, I spent that time in Spain, and that Spanish didn't really help me because it's a different Spanish.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's up with your Hebrew, man? How is that, man?
Oh no, I need metebe evri kitsat.
There you
So
go.
I was pretty fluent. I never learned to read it, but I was pretty fluent. As a matter of fact, you know, some of the bigger heads in organizations, they would be like, you know, be careful around. They called me D. Be careful around D because he knows what you're saying. You know, so I got to the point where I was speaking Hebrew pretty fluently.
Yeah, it should have had it. I should have had you come back to my community in Crown Heights, man, and hang out with my Hasidic friends, man.
Hey, you know something? And you say that. I remember Crown Heights well.
Yeah.
You know, those people who wore those hats and the curls. And
those are my homeboys, man. Those are my
They
homies.
called them cowboys in Israel.
That's right.
Cowboys.
That's right. Yeah.
Cowboys. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, but that author but that faith is so strong, man, that it's
yes, it is.
but I grew up with them. So that's how come I kind of understand that culture to some degree and respect it. You know, and that's the other thing. You have to go with this level of humility to respect the culture that you're living around. You know, you can't go there and be, you know, disrespectful to it. And like you said,
a lot of Americans got sent home.
Yeah, but you got to go. But you got to be a professional first, man. And
yeah.
And it's tough. And you know, even speaking to the situation of making that change from a player to a non-player, but just learning those other cultures is a growth pattern that you go through. Other places, you learn those cultures, and it matures you to see stuff, and that you know that you're not privy to just living in any country wherever you are. So there's a lot to be said about taking those jobs overseas, and especially that was during the time where it wasn't a big like it wasn't big. Now it's like a real big thing playing other places, but to be in that period of time that you played, and you said for 5 years you played, right?
Right.
Yeah. Right. So it can be very tough to see how that level of competition is growing, and you become mature, and you got to deal with these things, the cultures, but you say you found out a way to accept that it was going to end. What were the pitfalls of that thought process for you? Were anything stopping you, and like were you still pushing to try to play like the way Brady did, with like one more year?
No. I just, like I said, man, when my son was born, I spent 1 year. Well, he was a baby. He was born in September. I went back. I came home for right after the birth. I went back over, and I had a hard time leaving him, man. Leaving he and my wife here. They weren't with me now. They were here in the States. So that last year I went back, I had a hard time leaving. And I was like, I could go home and find a hustle, do something, but I just had a hard time leaving. And the team tried to get me to stay, but I think by the end of the season, we avoided being relegated. There were 12 teams. The bottom 2 teams get relegated to the second division. And we were playing in the 9-10 final game, playoff game, or whatever you want to call it. And we won that. And I went out on a high note because, the community where I played, they sold out. It was big, so it's kind of like, it's just time to go. And don't get me wrong, when I came home, I had some second thoughts. Don't get me wrong. I was wondering maybe if I should have stayed another 1 or 2 and banked a little bit.
How old were you then?
How old was I?
How old were you at
I
that point?
was 28, 27, 28. 27, 28, yeah. Actually, my son was born when I was 27, so yeah, 28 years old.
Yeah. So seeing that child, that that changed everything, right?
Oh my goodness, it just changed life. It just changed life.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Like I had another purpose. You know what I mean? It's just like, don't get me wrong. Now he was in the gym. He was in the gym with me when he was 6 months old.
There you go.
I had another purpose.
Well, you see my daughter, man. You know how I am with her, man.
Yes.
That changed. It changed everything. And Les knows that because you know how I responded. And we all have kids that we all love so much that it grounded us, and we knew what direction to turn in. I've known Les his whole life, and seeing Alyssa and how it changed him, I know he could probably say the same for me. And that children, they're connectors, back to what's good in life. If you're not paying attention, it'll pass you by. But I saw the writing on the wall, and I don't have no regrets. I wouldn't have played, I didn't play overseas. I mean, I gave the game up because of my health issues, but seeing my daughter, it made me not even think about it. I totally forgot about myself when it came to that, But like you said, D, I was bringing her to tournament games, so you fell in love with the game, and that's what it does. I mean, you find a way to communicate with your child and have that connection. And for me, it was sports. It could be whatever it is, man. But you have any other children, D?
Yeah, I've got a daughter that lives in Charlotte.
Okay.
She's my wife was an educator. My son's teaching, and my daughter is also teaching. We tried to I don't want to say discourage. Just make sure this is what you want to do. So, long story short, all 4 of us were in the education profession. So yeah, she's teaching middle school in Charlotte, right? And I don't know if you're familiar with the Steel Creek area.
Yeah,
she's at Steel Creek Middle.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
maybe in her 11th year. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So the whole family ended up sticking around in Charlotte, huh?
Well,
or in North Carolina.
We're in Raleigh.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we're in Raleigh. Yeah, and when I was going to school at App, we'd come to play state every year, and that was one of the hook Bobby's put on me. I love David Thompson coming out of high school, and he said, "You like David Thompson? We're gonna play them every year." And I was like, "Oh shoot, I'd love to play in that place." So that was one of the hooks. Yeah. So that's what brought me to Raleigh, and I always had a good time when we came to. We stayed a couple of times. We came during vacation time when students at school, over the Christmas holidays, and we spend 3 or 4 days in Raleigh. I always kind of felt like, especially coming from Boone, Raleigh was kind of like a nice little city. So,
and Boone is nice though, man. My niece graduated from App State, so
is she really?
Yeah, okay. we were at the graduate. We went to graduation, and now she's a principal now here in Charlotte.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's the educational program at App State's pretty good.
Yeah. It used to be a teachers' college. And one of their biggest productions was educators. So actually, when I coached at Leesville, the principal, maybe 3 or 4 of the coaches were all graduates.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, they it's funny because it was the education department at graduation. It was just them alone. It was
Right.
packed. It was
Yes.
packed.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've been up there
Les.
lately, Eric, but
Hmm.
that place is off the charts now, man. As far as a mid-major level school, facilities probably are second to none.
Oh yeah, man. We hung out up there for a while, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the town is the school. Like as we know,
Oh yeah, exactly.
most big colleges, that's the case all over the country. But for the
Right,
most part,
right.
yeah, they're in a nice spot, man. It's kind of like in between Raleigh and Asheville, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you got
So
Greensboro an hour away,
yeah,
Winston-Salem an hour
mhm,
away, and Asheville. I love Asheville too. So
yeah.
um,
So I mean,
nice
it's
place to visit. Nice place
yeah,
to visit.
yeah. I mean, and it's changing. They have like over 1 million people up in Asheville now.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Asheville is, a lot of people don't realize Asheville is probably the fourth largest city in the state.
yeah, that's right. And it's and
Wow,
plus that's
really?
and that yeah, Les, and that's Indian country too.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when my family's from there. On my
I didn't
mom's
know.
side, my mom's family from the the Indian tribes up in
Uh,
Asheville.
I didn't know that, man. Yeah, so
Yeah,
my
man.
father's from Wilmington, so we got some
Yeah,
stuff in common. My
yeah,
father's
man.
grew up in Wilmington, and we used to have to come down here. During I guess my mom and dad wanted to break sometimes. So the three of us, my brothers, we used to come down to Wilmington for a week or maybe two sometimes. I hated North Carolina.
Yeah.
If you had told me that I would live in North Carolina back then when I was at South Shore High School, I would say you were out of your mind.
Yeah,
But
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, because my father's family is from Greenville. And so I that's why we used to go there in the summertime. I hated it too. I
Oh
hated it.
man.
And I went back there like damn 2 years ago. And it was just as I was just as horrified about the place as I was when I was a child. Because it hasn't progressed. It still looks the
No, it
same to
hasn't.
me. It's the same stuff, man. Same, but North Carolina is a great place, man. And I mean it's App State, the school in itself has created such um a culture there, like for when it comes to sports as well. That's grown. Football team
Mhm.
does well, basketball team competes, and it seems like the university has gone in a direction and like the position that they're in because they what would they be considered? They're Division 1, am I correct?
Yeah, they were Division 1 in basketball. I don't want to say since its inception because I know they were NAIA at one time, but they were
Right.
Division 1 when I was there. Um,
Mm.
Now the football team for the long time. I get the
What are
FBS
they,
and the
1A?
FCS. No. That they were the FBS and FCS. There's a difference there, like pretty much 1 and 1A in football.
Okay. Yeah. It seemed like we got a little frozen on you, Darryl.
Is
Okay.
one of the upper mid majors with Marshall, James Madison. At one time they had New Mexico State in it, which was crazy. But the Sun Belt Conference is pretty good. Now, basketball went from the Southern Conference where we were competing when I played Furman, the Citadel. I'm trying to think some other. Marshall was with us then. Western Carolina.
Right.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good conference. So we were Division 1 back then. Football was like what you would consider 1A.
Right.
But now
Right.
they're 1 now. They're all division. I mean, it's all.
Yeah. After they beat up a couple of people a couple of years, they finally
Yeah.
said, "Let's open the gates."
And there was some resistance there too now, because a lot of people did not want to go to that upper level. The football drives everything, and there's so much more money, so much money to be made. They made the jump and actually have done really well.
I can imagine, man. I mean, because it's like most universities, Division 1 schools in North Carolina have a decent, rich history enough to be able to get recruits and to be able to compete. So that's pretty easy to do, for here because there's a lot of rich history when it comes to basketball, just North Carolina, period. But speaking to the rich history of that, and the plight of the game is kind of like where I'm kind of trying to run to. Um, Over the past couple of weeks, I've been watching NBA games, and I'm seeing things that players are doing on the court that doesn't jive with me, and even with Les, because we talk about it, about the lack of effort defensively, guys standing around watching, doing off the ball things without just standing and being like a spectator on the court. And so, tell me what your opinion is of what the current state of the NBA play is. Not winning and losing, but just the nature of watching players compete and whether or not they're giving the effort that where we were accustomed to when we were playing.
I think the NBA is when we were growing up, and I hate to be one of those guys to my back in the day, but
I know. Yeah.
It's more of a team game. The NBA is now about individuals, man. PJ Tucker played for me, and God, I mean, it's amazing what he's done to me, the career he's had. But when I watch Philly play, what his role is? Is to go in the corner and stay out of the way.
Stand there. Yeah, and stand there.
and occasionally he'll get it, and he's one of the better 3-point, and it's not what he did in high school. But stand there, and occasionally he'll get it, and he shoots a decent percentage from the corner, but it's just like pick and roll, just clear space, and that's just offensively. But defensively, sometimes I wonder, are they working on defensive stuff? Of course they're working on individual defense, on the ball defense, but sometimes off the ball, it's like, even last night I watched the Lakers and Julius Randle. I don't know if you saw this play, but it was the first play in the overtime. And it was some misdirection, but Julius Randle had no idea where the ball was. He's guarding LeBron, and it was a set play, and they just threw the ball to LeBron on the block, and Julius Randle still hadn't seen the ball for a layup.
Yeah, I saw that play. Mm-hmm.
It's like, damn. I mean, and you think, how can you be a professional? And don't get me wrong, Julius Randle is a bad boy, but I mean, how do you get to that level?
Right.
And you have no idea what's going on.
Right.
And in that play that you're talking about, right? He looked like this.
Yes.
The ball was there, right?
And then he looked at his teammates like, "Yo, what are y'all doing?" Yeah, exactly.
And that's like the scene. I don't know if you noticed it. I posted a play when Dallas guy was going, Dokovic was going to the hoop, made a left-hand layup, and he faked and then went dribbling left hand side of the basket. Guy was playing weak side defense, and he jumps in the air.
I did see that.
And I'm like, why? And I don't know if he was trying to combat possibly the pass to the guy in the corner, because guys are getting ready to take a layup and they'll throw it to somebody in the corner for a 3 instead of making the layup. But still, he didn't commit 100% to being a weak side player. My saying always is the weak side defender sees all, because if you're the weak side defender, you see everything going on, and you should be the most reactive person on the court defensively. He stood there, let him come into the paint, and then responded, and then kind of like just jumped in the air. When he made the layup, and you can look at the tape, he comes down and then he jumps up and down like upset. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like the foul had been called and you're jumping up and down like, oh, I didn't, like, why didn't you help me? But you were the one you had a responsibility and you didn't fulfill your role.
Right, yeah, and he's supposed to help. And
no one is holding him accountable. That the problem is the defenders are not being held accountable for how they play, and I don't understand.
And again, getting back.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I just don't understand how that works,
But you know what it is? It's because of the changing of the game, because guys are getting, like you're saying, they're getting to the basket almost for a layup and then throwing it to 3-pointer. So a lot of times people are anticipating that, and instead of like, right in front of you is a layup. So you're programmed to kind of like to fan out and giving up a layup. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's almost like, I'm gonna make that guy throw it out to the perimeter. You're not gonna get this layup.
Right.
So you got it, coach.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're gonna give up a layup or a three. But they're knocking down threes on the regular, a whole lot more regular now. But it seems like in that little scene that you're talking about, I don't know if that guy thought maybe he was getting ready to get dunked on, and he tried to jump late and got out. I don't know what he was doing. I have no idea.
Yeah, and it's like, but I sat there in my feeble mind and said, if I was a little guard like Spud Webb, what would I do? If I was a big guard like Clyde Drexler, what would I do? If I was a small forward like Scottie Pippen, what would I do? If I was a power forward like Karl Malone, what would I do? And so on. And every single one of those individuals and the position that they play and how I'm thinking that person would respond, none of them would have done what he did. That's I mean, if I knew a middle school kid and he learned how to play, let's say for Brooklyn, USA, I know what he's supposed to do. Step up and stop the ball.
Right.
And the expectation is that your teammates will get your back. Who's helping the helper? And that's just the normal action of any team concept of any sport. If I'm chasing a running back down and I fall, I would hope that the safety is going to chase him or the linebacker, if I'm a lineman. So there's a progression of people that have to respond to that guy running. We say, oh, he's going to score. Let me leave him alone. There's something wrong with that mindset. People would want that person's head if they let a guy score a touchdown because he wasn't playing defensive properly. So why are we not holding people responsible as defenders and doing the right thing? And that would only be the coaches.
Yeah. Well, let me give you another scenario, real brief.
But also, man, okay.
Go ahead.
I'm listening to you.
I have seen, and you guys have seen it too. I mean, you're talking about trying to get a stop in the last 10 seconds, up one. I don't know, even tie game, and the guy goes to the rim, and it looks like he's going to dunk it. And the defender, the young defender, high school travel ball, has got a decision to make. Do I want to get dunked on, or am I going to get out the way? And I've actually seen some kids kind of get out of the way, because I ain't getting dunked on. And now now the team loses by 1. So we lost, but I didn't get dunked on. That mentality. So, which to me is as a coach, I have zero tolerance for that type of mentality. Go ahead, Ness. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. And what I was thinking about was, I'm looking at guys getting the ball, starting from half court, and nobody gets in front of them. Like the Greek Freak, and even the Joker, as slow as he is, he's taking the ball and going straight to, and nobody's. Come on, make him go to the side or something a little bit.
Make him go east-west.
Yes, and I just don't understand why they're not teaching. I mean, these guys are taking like 3 steps and getting to the hoop. I'm like, this is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Back in the day, man, our coaches would call timeout and put you on the bench, man.
Yeah,
for that.
But what those guys do, and I'm noticing that, I don't know if that's like a European way of playing, but if you're a defender, and I'm knowing how Americans play defense, they're usually going to wait for the guy to come to them. Like the Greek Freak will take 3 steps backwards and then get a running start at you, for which nobody can defend a person on a running start if you're standing still. If I'm standing there playing regular half-court D and you come running at me, I'm not going to be able to stop you. So if as a defender, I'm going to come out there meet you so that you don't get a running start on me and bump you, whatever the case may be. But if you let a guy, you just let him have a running start on you, and then once he's past you, guys don't do help defense properly. So nobody knows their responsibilities or their assignments when it comes to help defense.
Right, and you know, you're talking about letting them run at you. You can't stop anybody pedaling backwards either.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it's
you're
impossible.
backpedaling. I'm looking at your
Yep.
feet now. I know that as a player. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm nowhere near that level. But if I got somebody backpedaling, I got you.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
You're getting ready to
yeah,
be hacked.
yeah. And it's
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
80 and
But then they walk they walk around you. That Euro step.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it's like, but there has to be some deciding factor that controls the way the game is going. And somebody said to me, like might have been right before the pandemic, that the game of basketball has been taken over by the statisticians, the people who don't play, but they know the math of the game, as well as entertainment, the entertainment mindset of like, I'd rather like let Zion do a 360 dunk on me than for me to foul him and send his ass to the foul line because he can't make foul shots.
Right.
And it's like you're willing to, in other words, you're willing to lose the game to see him dunk the ball like that.
To sell tickets.
Right. So what are you as a competitor? Right. If you let somebody have a highlight day against you, that's like blasphemy, you know, in Brooklyn. Yeah. You know, nobody's I've said this many a times. No one has ever scored more than like 20 points on me. No one's ever got me. And no, but I'm just saying
I scored 68 points on you, Eric.
All right, no.
Don't let's start talking about that.
All right, I got you. All right, but you understand my point, though. It's like no, you're gonna take pride in the fact that nobody's gonna take you. There's no more Charles Oakleys out there that are tough in the paint. It's just a massive deflection of the hard part of the game and the hard work part of the game for entertainment to flourish. And they want entertainment to flourish.
Yes, they do. Know? Yeah. And you know, the Oakleys, I mean, you can't play like that anymore. You can't even hand check anymore.
Right.
You know, they'll let some people be hand checked, right. But there's some people you're not gonna put hands on. You know,
right. So let me ask you a question, D. If somebody's not hand checking you and not playing you tough, but at the same time, you know that you've been getting green light not to pass it to anybody and try and make a move because you can handle, then you'll be dribbling the shot clock out to make a move. Because that's all you're doing. It's kind of like we're standing on the corner and we're hanging out and I got a ball and I'm saying, try to take the ball from me. Like, you know, that one-on-one thing we're doing, you know, in the neighborhood. That's what it is. And like, you can only play defense for so long, right? That's exactly right. Because then that person's going to go by you. Everybody else is standing still, right? Guys in the corner, you know, top end is like the king of standing in the corner. So those guys go in the corner and they hang out, let the guys do their thing. I take a shot and I don't follow it because I'm standing there like this. You know, like I want somebody to take 800 pictures of me while I'm posing. And then the ball hits the front of the rim and bounces in, you know, like towards me, but I didn't follow it. So somebody else gets the rebound. If I had to follow that, I would have got a quick layup and been going, you know? And it's like, and it's these constant decisions. And as a coach, if I'm sitting there, like, what do you think, you know, like the coaches sitting there saying to themselves about these NBA players who get those big checks and how they're dealing with what they see as an observer and a coach, seeing a player not giving that effort to, you know, hustle for rebounds or not even following up shots and things like that. What's the recourse to all of that madness that goes on there?
You probably, and I'm not speaking because I know, I mean, this is just my perspective. You probably have 30 NBA teams. Mm. You probably got 10 coaches that are not worried about getting fired. And those other guys are like this. I mean, it's easier to get rid of the coach than it is 2 or 3 players. You know what I mean? So, NBA coaching job, man. You know, the Popoviches and those kind of guys, they're few and far between. Mm-hmm. But I mean, a lot of those guys are just trying to manage. And you know, I love the job my man Jock Bond is doing in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Brooklyn is a mess. But it looks like they're getting it together. But I love the job he's doing. Some of those guys are doing a really good job. Some of those guys, I'm with you, Eric. Even on the college level, it's like teams, college level team turn the ball over 3-4 times in a row on press, and I'm like, man, I mean, have you never seen a press before? Have you never seen a 2-2-1 or 1-2-1-1? And it's like, I just don't understand. And I'm talking about some coaches that have been around for a while. That have got names. It's like, whoa, they're not prepared for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even players,
Yeah.
know that you see someone pressing you, and you're not in the right, and you don't, like, if I were to get on a court right now and I saw a certain type of press, my brain would right away say, open spot of the floor, where do I need to be? If I don't have the ball, where do I need to be an outlet to get the ball? Do I run down the court? Do I go to open spot? Do I, do I cut across? What am I doing? Do I, and plus making myself available for my teammate trouble, and it's like, you see guys being in areas that don't make sense. It's like, why are you standing there and the defender's standing right next to you? And there's an open spot, and they're kind of like playing like a little bit of a zone type of press. So we're talking about college,
your teammate is getting trapped, and your teammate is. I used to always say your teammate is dying, and you're sitting around here just looking at it.
Yeah. Gunshot to the chest, man. You're just leaving them there, And but it's sad because, once again, the coaches don't say anything, and the lack of communication to fix the problems. Like, it seems like they just keep on going because they don't have time to deal with it. So the only thing that they're concerned about is get the ball across the half court and let's take a three.
Yeah.
And that's it. And all of the fundamentals, even down to just menial things, which you used to never see. I never saw Clyde Frazier leave his feet to throw a pass. I'm sorry, I never saw that.
That's like an epidemic. Holy cow! I mean,
everybody's jumping in the air, and they're bailout passes.
Yeah,
and plus these one arm like swing kind of passes.
Did you play for Gil Reynolds?
Huh?
Did you play for Gil Reynolds?
I played for George, but I played for both Gil and
the same family. Yeah. Can you imagine doing some of that stuff with Gil? Do you hear what I say, boy? You're not gonna play with my.
Come here, son.
Yeah. Do you hear what I say, boy? So.
No, but it's the truth, though, but as seeing the progression or the lack of progression in certain little things that we know or seem to be standard to us, since those skill sets are not being performed, do you guys see, and this is for both of you, do you guys see it ever coming back? Like, I know it seems like now that maybe big men might be coming back, but what about just the effort defensively? If you think that the game will change and evolve back into the realm of guys playing better defense and being more knowledgeable, or is it going to continually go into the entertainment direction of individuality? Which one you guys think will happen?
I think it's going to be entertainment. People like Magic and Michael and Steph are super, super, super players, but people want to do the stuff they do. And those guys are freaks, man. Michael used to leave his feet to make passes, and Steph pulls up from 40 when it's 2-on-1. And kids see that. And they want to be that. So, of course, I haven't coached, I don't know, 10, 12 years. I had a hard time tolerating bad shots. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it may have been better for your best player to take a challenge shot than to pass it. And I know that's a reality too, but I just think people like Mike, Magic, Steph, the Greek Freak now. I mean, those are the kids want to emulate that. And I guess in a brief synopsis of everything, I don't think high school kids, middle school kids love the game like we did.
Right.
I don't think the love is there anymore. It's what can the game do for me more than what I can bring to the game. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you got guys just
No,
wanting to
it
put
does.
that
It does. I
put that
understand.
put that uniform on just because you know
Yeah.
I'm a baller. No, you ain't no baller just because you got a uniform.
Right.
So
I think a
um,
lot of times people have come to a conclusion of what you're saying. Um, that love of the game is just like you said. If it's just entertainment, then they look at specifics and what draws the applause,
yeah,
and say, well, that's what I want to do. I want to do what draws the applause,
right,
and but we were taught and trained of all facets of the game, so that's the part that's missing, and the reason why until that changes, at least in some part, that there's training and teaching being done of the other aspects of the game, at least brings some sense of what we're talking about back into form. But also, there is no and across the country, as far as I know, there's no individuality in playing like in parks, like you said, and that's what creates the love. Is I'm playing in the park, Wingate Park against you and Les and this guy and that guy, and it's as an individual. So I don't have any coach there, but I'm creating my own my own flavor of how I play the game, and you incorporate that. Then you go to training and you get your coaches, and all of those things make you the player you are, and that's how you become a freak. If you want to be a freak like Michael or Seth, you got to train. You have to learn the game. You have to learn all aspects of the game, and you find what you do well and do it, but not for entertainment purposes. It's so that you can get on the court. That's
right.
what it always used to be. It's like, how am I going to get playing time? Well, you got to do the right things. What's
Yeah,
the right
Yeah,
thing now? Hitting
let-
threes?
yeah,
yeah, but and think about this: the still all-time leading scorer in the NBA. Nobody's tried to emulate that over all these years, man. Come on, man. And nobody's playing being a big man anymore. And that's one of the simplest shots. Even a little jump hook, if it's not the sky hook. But
right.
nobody's doing. And whenever I try to teach that to kids, they be like, "Oh, Coach Miller, nah, I'm all right.
That
I
ain't
want to go
it.
shoot the."
But
It's not sexy.
it was the most unstoppable move in the history
Absolutely.
of sports.
Yeah, of
Of
sports.
any sport, of anything you do as an individual, no
Mhm.
one, no one can emulate the sky hook. No one.
Yeah,
And but you don't want to learn it. I
yeah.
don't, you know.
And listen, and think, you mentioned that, just popped into my head. How
Mm.
many people do you see shooting a little bank shot, mid range?
Come on, man.
I
Come
saw I
on.
saw Westbrook hit one last night, but you don't see
I
that,
was
man.
I was the king of the bank. The bank
Yeah, you don't see that. You don't see
Yeah,
that. It's not
bank
cool.
was
That's
always
not
open,
cool.
man.
It's
You
not
know?
cool.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
not
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So
And it scares me because I've spent so much time shooting off the back, and you want to know why? One reason, freaking John Havlicek, man.
yeah,
I
Mm.
watched him play, man. I wanted to be like that guy, man. It's like he's shooting that short, that mid-range jumper, man. And it's like you get it done and you get out of there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have to celebrate that because I scored a basket. Like you look at the stats later, and it's like, yeah, the guy went crazy. He made a basket, he jumping up and down, going three, and all this stuff that they do, hitting themselves in the head, giving yourself a self-concussion. And you look at the
Yeah.
stats later on in the game, it's like that's the only shot he made.
Yeah.
Like, so what? And
yeah.
I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. So what? You made a basket. Because
Yeah.
meanwhile,
But
like you said,
also the bank shot, man. The reason why I was a pretty good rebounder was because of the shooting bank shots. It's an easy shot to follow
You
because
know
you're the
where
one
it's going.
shooting it, and you know if you're missing it or not. You know
You know where it's
basically
going.
where it's coming off.
right.
Yeah,
But you're
And when
being
somebody else shoots a
calculated
bank
now,
shot,
Les. Yeah, you're being
yeah,
calculated, but these kids don't even think the way that you
yeah,
do anymore. You
hmm
know, and it's like you had a method to your madness. It's kind of like that Karl Malone mentality. I mean, or Moses Malone, where I put it back up there so I can get it again, so I can score. So you
Mhm.
created, like that feature of your game to incorporate in to have success, and not for entertainment purposes, but because you want to score as an individual.
Right,
These
right.
kids now, man, it's like I've seen so many big men in the NBA catch the ball down low, and they're like, "Oh, what do I do?" Like they don't know, like the move. How do I do a drop step again? They got to look in a book. Like, let me what move my left
Yeah.
foot. Like because they haven't worked on it for it to be natural,
Mhm.
and that's part of the problem. Like moves that we did it
Right.
naturally. We get on the court, we're doing, and things happen. So I never
You know,
thought of,
you know
well, how do
why
you
though,
make that
Eric?
move? I never really thought about it. I did it because it was the opportunity. I had to put it between my legs and behind my back and get away from the man, blah, blah, blah. But these
And it
guys,
gets back to something you said earlier. I don't know if you've been up in New York or last time you were up there, even here in Raleigh and Charlotte. Man, we lived in the parks. I
Mm.
mean, I lived in Ditmas Park. I mean, I used to go there, eat some breakfast, go to Ditmas and hoop, go home, eat some lunch, go back to Ditmas and hoop. You know, you don't see kids in the park anymore.
no,
And these parents are paying. There's more money in bad basketball than there is in good basketball.
yeah,
These parents are paying trainers
Oh,
and all
absolutely.
this stuff. But we lived in the parks, and that's love. To me, that's love.
yeah,
And I mean,
Mhm.
one of my last coaching jobs, I won't mention where, but it's 30 minutes from Raleigh, and I'm scheduling. You couldn't work out more than 4 kids. You couldn't work out 5 kids. It had to be 4. So I'm
right. You're
scheduling.
talking about preseason, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, I'd have to drive 30 minutes, man, for to work 4 kids out, and 2 of them would show up. That kind of stuff, and that's love. I mean, that's just want to. I mean, so it's just
Yeah.
different now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know growing up, man, and I've said this like numerous times, man. I've in PS 92, Wingate, and Albany Park, I have changed my jump shot so many times. So many like trying to find the best way. But I see guys going and paying $450 for 5 weeks to a trainer, and a year later, the guy's still making the same mistakes. His jump shot still ain't falling, and
But
the
I bet you he
mother
could spit it on his finger.
right, and the parents live and die by
Yeah.
Johnny's got a trainer, but he's still making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and plus he has no personality in the game, and the game has to have a personality. Playing basketball is not, and I'm gonna use this example. I say it all the time. Playing basketball is not rice with no gravy. Basketball is rice with gravy, oxtails, plantain, or steak with potatoes. It's like a complement of a bunch of stuff on that plate. It's not just one thing, and it's not bland. There has to be some kind of creativity.
Spice.
Yeah, some kind of spice to it. Something John Stockton's or Earl of Pearls or Karl Malone. Everybody has some kind of spice in what they do. And these guys, individual play is developed by playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3, and playing competitively, free of everyone, free of a coach telling you whether you're right or wrong. Like the critics of your friends say, "Oh, you lose a ball, whatever," but you're in control. So you develop who you're going to be, just like you do with your personality, just in general. As a child, I was shy and quiet. Grew up and look. Now I can't shut up. So that's the truth, man. My wife Cassandra says I talk in my sleep. So I'm just saying, but there's a development that occurs, and these guys are just so bland, and they get limited, responsibilities and training and developing your game. The rules get in the way because you can't develop. Because unlike Europe, where you can play and you're 10 years old or whatever, and they'll put you in a camp to learn how to play the game, like they did Yao Ming. Where the country makes you learn the game. But now it's like, well, I can't have these players in the gym during this part of preseason. I can't do this. You can't coach your players. All of this madness. But meanwhile, everybody misses the point, and that's you're not developing like a personality of a game for yourself, so that you end up having love for it. Once you have the love, you'll do anything for it. Referring back to our kids, right, you know what to do right away. With kids born right away, it takes you somewhere. If you learn how to play in the parks, it'll force the love on you. You'll love it. That's how you learn how to love the game, you know.
Yeah.
And it's income. So their love is incomplete because they don't have that part that we do, you know.
Yeah.
And so I mean, but based on that, I think probably Darryl, you're right. The game is probably going to stay as an entertainment valued product, you know, and
They
that's
want to
kind
sell
of
tickets. They want to sell tickets. It's
yeah.
about
And the tickets are not cheap, man.
no,
You know, small market, you know, NBA bad seat tickets are like $150, $200. You're like, man, that's groceries, man. What?
right.
Yeah, you know, and especially when the product is not that good to me, they're not putting out a great product in the NBA. So for me, I'm not willing to pay for a product that's mediocre, in my opinion. You know, I'll watch it on TV, you know, but going live to a game is, you know, unless somebody gives me tickets, man. You know, so
Yeah, and that's how I go. I mean, I get some tickets. Somebody will hook me up with some tickets for me to go. You know,
yeah, yeah.
and I know they're not
Yeah.
real expensive in Charlotte. I might, you know, go see my daughter, and there may be a game. I might give up some money for that, but no, I'm not spending $200 or more on a ticket.
Yeah, and going to an NBA game, forget it, man. And especially what happens to me when I go to a game, and Les will attest to, like last time, I think probably the last couple of games I went to is when we're in Jersey before we left, and we're going to those games, right? Les sitting up in that box, and we're so critical. Like it's like four of us, all 6'5" and bigger, and we're so critical. People that are sitting around us say like, "Who are these guys?"
You know, what's wrong with these guys?
Yeah,
what they come for?
Yeah, because we're finding a fault with the product, man. And it's like we're sitting there saying that this is crazy. But you get wrapped up, you get intoxicated as a fan, and you miss everything that we see.
And you're a coach too, though. You know what I mean? And you are you're analytical. You've coached, you've played, so you know what it should look like.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
At least from the standpoint of what kind of product that I would want to put out there.
Right.
You know? And so, and out of respect for them, that's not the product that they want to put out there. So I get it, you know.
Yeah.
But the game and the history of the game is suffering for it, you know.
Yeah.
And it could get better though. But that's why I say our era was the best era. You know, we did it and we learned, and we're carrying a whole era of basketball with us that was, you know, much appreciated by all of us. You know,
it was pure. You know what I mean? It was pure.
As pure as it can get. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like Les was dunking on people. You know, I didn't play above the rim, but you know, I tried to outthink people. You know what I mean? I tried to trick people. So but yeah, it's just like it's entertainment, man. It's entertainment.
You know, and my hope is that we all understand that it's that the efforts that's put in, it'll come back. But for right now, you're probably right. It's totally entertainment, man. And, the analytics that between the entertainment and the analytics, you know.
Yeah.
If you take 800 3-pointers, you'll at least score 100 points. Like that's you know, I can't do that, you know. But listen, man, we had one hell of a conversation today. I must admit.
Absolutely.
Very appreciative of, you know, you coming in and sharing you know, your experiences and what the history of your career was like. And I hope that everybody is you know, paying attention because you brought a lot of good points to the table. And that's what this is for. We do this in order to share people's opinions of what their career was like or what the state of the game is like. And very, very much appreciated, you know, your insights.
Man, I appreciate you having me and inviting me. And, you know, it sounded like you wasn't sure something I would want to do, man. Anytime I get to hang out with you, Eric, and me, I mean, it's a good thing, man. So I appreciate you having me. And Les, you also. Yeah,
man. It's been my pleasure, brother, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So I want to end on this note. This is my brother, Darryl Robinson, man with the fro, not anymore. But South Shore strong, App State strong. Appreciate you. And you guys have a great one. We'll see you guys on the other side. Take care.
All right,
Peace.
brother. Okay, now.
All right, Les.
All right, baby. Be good.